They shocked the world on Saturday/Sunday. What a time it is to be one. Eric Nicksick, he's kind enough to join us right now. There he is. My man, Eric. How are we feeling? Can you even
What's
put
up?
it into words? Like, are you still buzzing?
I don't even know where I'm at today, honestly. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what city I'm in, but I know that we got that win on Saturday or Sunday or whatever day it was. So no, I feel great, man. It's amazing to be on.
Well, thank you for coming on. Congratulations. By the way, you come from that football background. This is akin to a Super Bowl win. When a coach wins the Super Bowl, you come down, you celebrate, you have a few months, it's the draft. You literally have to get right back at the. Is that tough for you? Like, you've got a slew of fighters who are waiting for their moment. Some of them may be fighting this weekend and next. How do you do that?
I love it because it doesn't allow you to. My dad always say, like, don't get fat, meaning like you get complacent, you get a full belly. You want to you want to take a nap. You want to lay down. You want to like read all these good comments and do all this stuff. It's like, man, it forces you to get right back to work and keep your head down and grind. And that's always been our mentality, kind of our motto, the way I operate. So it's nice. You have to turn the page no matter what, win or lose, man. It's the next man up. So you can be riding this high and not give 100% because you're riding a high, and you could be riding a low and coming in and that energy takes it out of you. And now your next fighter feels it. So you get one day to celebrate, man. And it's honest to God truth. You only get one day to celebrate. And then once you're back here, winning doesn't care who did what the week before. It's on to the next.
So, we just spoke to Dricus du Plessis, and if he was healthy, he would have fought on Saturday against Izzy. And who knows how the story of Sean Strickland would have panned out. I actually want to go like a couple steps back here. There was a moment there where we all thought it was going to be Izzy versus DDP. And then we found out, I remember Izzy put out the video and he's like, DDP's out, Strickland's in. What I was hearing was the UFC was reluctant to book this fight. What I was hearing was they were telling people, we can't in good conscience put Sean Strickland in there against Izzy. We can't sell that fight because people don't believe that he can make this happen. And so it's amazing now to see what transpired. Were you hearing the same, and were you getting frustrated that here we are like a month before UFC 293, they still haven't made it official? I even saw the tweets from Sean. I was like, this is crazy. It's right there. Make the fight. He's popular. Izzy's popular. Just make it. And what are you thinking regarding the UFC's reluctance to pull the trigger, so to speak, on this fight?
Stay ready. That's all I kept telling him. You know what I mean? Even so, after he beats a boost the way that he did, then there was Whitaker DDP. That was like, I think the only fight I think I've known Sean ever really go to. And he sees, DDP upset Whitaker the way that he did. He texts me, he's like right away, he's like, oh, well, guess I'm waiting for the winner out of so-and-so. I can remember. And I just kept telling him, like, bro, don't even think like that. Stay ready, because you never know how these things turn out. And the last thing in the world we wanted was to waste an opportunity or not be prepared or have some excuse or whatever, mainly just because of just his weight. I wanted to keep his weight down, but his head in the fight. So, things move quickly in the sport. Injuries happen. And these opportunities don't wait for the ill prepared. So when the door knocks, man, you better be ready to kick that door down. And that's all I just kept telling him. So once I saw that Dricus was out, they didn't have a main event. They wanted Izzy on the card. Everything kind of made sense to me in a weird poker way. It's like I felt like we had pocket aces, and we're the ones holding all the cards. In my opinion, that's the way I felt about the situation. So just trying to keep his head in the fight and just, hey, bro, we're going to train and do everything like we have a title fight.
Some might say, hey, less time to prepare, less time to overthink. It might be an advantage. Did you feel like, hey, this is good for us? We have a month. Let's go in, balls to the wall. Or did you wish you had more time in retrospect as you were preparing?
No. I mean, this is the fight game. And this is like what makes Sean Strickland so damn great. And here's the other side of that coin. They didn't have enough time to prepare for us. They really didn't. So ultimately, you can have a perfect 8-week camp and everything else, but man, this is the fight game. And to Sean's credit, we even talk about this all the time in the gym. If somebody broke in your house, you need 8 weeks to get ready to fight this burglar. No, man, we're gonna fight, and that's just always been our mentality. So, I'll tell you, man, like that's the pedigree we have in here. These guys are in the gym day in and day out training, because if that phone rings, we want to make sure that we're prepared to go.
How was he once you got the call? You're in. You're fighting for the belt. How would you describe his mentality, his confidence? Any different? Was he feeling the nerves? Did you have to have pep talks with him? How would you describe how he was feeling leading up to taking off for Sydney?
He was very, very calculated. He was, you know, we had such great training partners already in the gym, but we were able to really fine tune the ones that we thought were going to be the most beneficial for us, stylistically and body types. We had the coaching staff already on the same page. It was actually very fluid, to be honest with you, Ariel. Like one of the more fluid camps that we've had, especially off of a guy like Sean. But the nice thing is that like the guy's always in the room. He's always in the gym. You don't have to go and hunt this guy down, right? You just go out here right now. He's probably sparring. Who knows? But that I think that's to our advantage is just the fact that I always kind of relate to us as like Dev Group, like Team Six, Special Forces guys. We're always training. We're always prepared for battle. And when that phone rings, we have to be able to pick up the phone and fly anywhere and go get in a fight. So that's Sean's mentality. That's my mentality, and that's what I feel like the gym's mentality is when it comes to things like this.
I said on Monday that I felt like he owned the week. Like he looked so comfortable, the embedded stuff, him at the presser, like him, like I said, I understand he's had a girlfriend for a while. We've never really seen him like that, but he just seemed like a different guy, like walking around. We're seeing the lovey-dovey side of him. Like it just seemed like he was just very comfortable with everything. Did you feel the same? Were you happy with where you guys, like where your guy was at and how he was feeling going into the biggest fight of his life?
I mean, she was the MVP, to be honest with you. Like she deserved a lot of this credit because, I said, publicly that, and I told her right after the win, I gave her a big old hug and I was like, you showed him it's okay to love and to be loved. And you've provided him an opportunity to open his heart, to be coached, to be coachable. She's changed that man's life, and she's not going to make him soft. He's still rough around the edges. It's still Sean, but it's a slow burn, man. It's a slow process. But what she's allowed him to feel and kind of open his heart to, I mean, honest to God, Ariel, that's probably why we have a belt wrapped around our waist is because
Wow.
of that relationship. Yeah.
How long have they been together?
I think a little over a year now.
So why do you think it's like really worked now? Do you feel like it's just taking him time to warm up to this connection?
Probably her to warm up to him because we just joke her. She's the sweetest girl in the world, and we razz her all the time. Like, what the hell? How did you end up with Sean Strickland? And she's like, oh, I couldn't stand him the first time we went on a date. Like the stories are hilarious, but they're just such a like a different dynamic that it works. Like she keeps him in check. And like he's walking around the hotel, my love, and hugs. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy, man? But man, as a coach, you embody that. Like, there's some relationships you see as fighters where their spouses can be hindrance to the camp. And sometimes, man, they can take it over the top and make it even better and push somebody to greatness. And honestly, man, that's what she's done.
So I'm talking about all the positives here. I have to say, like, so we're like on a completely different time zone. I wake up, I think it was Wednesday, and I see the thing at the open workout where he's sparring a fan and like hitting him kind of hard. And I was like, holy shit. Like if he would have just like snapped, he could have knocked this guy out very easily. He's a freaking pro MMA fighter. This looked like a potential disaster. And Dana kind of brushed it aside. What were you thinking when you saw this and what did happen behind the scenes after this happened?
Oh, we were walking on eggshells all week, Ariel. Like, honest to God, and I'll drop this news for you, bro. Like, I thought we were going to get pulled. I really did.
Really?
Man. Like, yeah. So they went to the beach, and Sean basically incriminates himself on this during fight week, the presser, right? Like, he's like, yeah, and this guy comes up to me talking trash, and I punched him in his belly. And apparently, like the Australian government or whoever heard this, they got word of this, and it went downhill from there. It got to the point where they were flying John Crouch out from Arizona from MMA Lab to come out and corner Jared Cannonier.
No way.
When I heard that, swear to God, bro, I heard that, I was like, bro, we're off. They're gonna pull us from this card. We didn't, remember these guys probably didn't want Sean in this spot to begin with. We were walking on thin ice the moment we got there. Every fan that we had an interaction with that I was there absolutely adored Sean. Loved him. Pictures, hugs, this and that. But one day I'm not there. I'm actually watching the Florida State game. And, I get a call and they're like, yeah, I guess some fan came up to Sean, started talking shit. And Sean just gave him a rip, like just a little bump or something. I don't even know. It wasn't like he hit the guy hard or something. but it flew under the radar. There was nothing being said about it. And then, Sean dumbass goes on and says something in an interview and basically incriminates himself. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing? So we were walking on thin ice all week. And then, hearing that news that like, hey man, that there might be flying Coach Crouch out really hit. Cause no, that's not a cheap flight. That's a long travel. Jared Cannonier's already here. Rob Emerson was already there with them. So, it was probably pretty close to getting pulled, man. I don't know what changed or what happened behind the scenes. And then we go to the open workout. This is after, right? Or before. This is before. Yeah. And then we go to the open workout. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, this is an awful idea. And I'm looking at everybody, Dave Lockett, Megan Levy. I'm like, dude, what kind of liability is this right now? Like, and I'm going to tell Sean, yo, do not hit this guy hard and don't get cut. Like, this is beyond stupid. And Sean does what Sean does. And then it turned into a hit. Like, they loved him. Sean ended up getting the guy a ticket to the fight. The guy came to the fights. He was front row. He was there for Sean's victory. Won the whole crowd over. I mean, the guy's a sitcom, Ariel. He really is. He's an episode of Seinfeld. How does this guy going to get out of this jam today?
Yeah.
Right.
But is there any part of you that's ever like, can we just tone it down just so that you don't hurt yourself, that you don't like stop
all day?
Okay.
all day long. That's all I do, man. Is just babysit this guy. So we ended up getting assigned a bodyguard.
Wow.
And this dude was, Luke the bodyguard. This guy was Australian Special Forces, 7 deployments, 5 in Iraq, or 5 in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. This dude was absolutely the highlight of our week, man. He was so much fun, so much energy, like behind the scenes, like, he was real quiet and stuff. But then like we would do things, or like Sean was cutting weight, and he had a couple pounds to go, and he started bickering and this, and how he gets to that last couple pounds, and I can't. And then Luke's like, yeah, man, I remember that one time when I was in Ramadi, and our unit got blown up, and the guy next to me got blown to smithereens, and this, and shot up, and this guy, and I was the only one alive, and I shoot my way out. And Sean just like hears the story. He's like, oh, well, I guess I'll go cut this weight then.
Yeah.
Because Luke's over here just giving a shit about it. And he was, man, he was awesome. He was the MVP of the week, man. He really stole the show for us. And, him and Sean's girlfriend for sure. So yeah, wow. It was cool.
Did you ever need him? Like, did he ever actually have to step in and protect you guys or protect Sean?
I mean, kind of, sort of, like, he was always there, just kind of directing traffic, if you will. But he was just kind of a part of the team. Like, we were just chopping it up and shooting the shit. And then Sean's a recluse. He don't really go out. The only time we were leaving or going out was to go to the gym and train. Luke was there kind of just monitoring the situation. And then when Sean won, we actually went and got dinner. So we had the belt and we were celebrating everything else. So Luke tagged along with us for the whole thing. But yeah, man, he was a really cool guy, and it was a cool experience.
You've known Sean for a while. Were you blown away by the reception in Australia? Like, he was a superstar over there. Like, he connected with those people. Did that surprise you?
Not really. I mean, off the jump, I felt like we were going to get, like, it was probably going to be 50-50, and it kind of was. But just knowing Sean and his personality, I felt like he was going to win the people over. And I actually had a good talk with Luke about that, who's from Sydney. And Sydney's like, Luke was like, Sydney or Australia, and especially kind of in the rural parts, Sean Strickland is this style of human being out here. So he's gonna win the hearts over the Australian people pretty quickly. So he wasn't surprised by it. A guy that lived in Sydney. So over the week, man, he was the star of the show.
How was he on Sunday morning? It's weird, right? I mean, I'm sure you're somewhat adjusted. Or by the way, did you guys stay on American time, or did you what did you do? Because it is weird to fight in the morning like that, right?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. We were getting our training sessions in at night some days, and just trying to get adjusted the best that we could. And we knew we were fighting probably like around 2 p.m. So as the week went on, we got it out there pretty early. So I think I was out there for like 10, 11 days. So as the week progressed, once it got to like check-in day, we moved our training times to about 2:00.
Okay.
So by that time we were pretty acclimated, man. It wasn't too difficult, and it was nice. Like, we got over with the fight. It was like 3:30, local time, and we were able to get dinner and hang out and celebrate a little bit.
How worried were you about the weight cut? Some people were saying he didn't look great on the scale. Was it a tough one?
No, not really. I mean, it just typical weight cut.
Okay.
I think it's always the last couple pounds, and he didn't look great on the scale. And but he never really does, and I don't think most people do. You know, it's almost like you have to put on your best like acting face during that time because everybody's hurt and everybody sucks. But you know that last pound does suck, and that was something that I told him ahead of time. Hey, we don't have that 186, bro. It's 185. And that 1 pound does make a lot of difference when it comes down to that last couple pounds. So it's something I think we need to prepare for a little bit better next time.
I was reading an interview that you did, I think yesterday, where you talked about an interaction that you guys had in the locker room, which kind of gave me chills just reading it because I love that stuff. Like I'm a sucker for the coach, athlete dynamic, the leader, like going into battle. And it sounded like you had to give him like one last pep talk. Is that right?
Yeah. Manel won. So right when Manel won, I jammed out of the cage and got to the back because we basically had Ty and Volkov, and then we were up next. So, Danny Davis did an incredible job. Zarate, all the guys in the back, getting them warm and everything else. And then it just had a weird vibe to it, and anybody that's been in the back room knows that feeling, knows that vibe. And it just felt ominous. It just felt quiet. It felt stale, and he was kind of walking and pacing with his head down. Just his body language didn't look right to me. And I kind of just observed for a second or two, and I kind of took in the room, and I don't know. I just felt like it was that was a moment where I had to go. Like I had to be a coach, and I stopped and I looked at him. I said, "Hey, motherfucker, look at me." I said, "We're going to go win this fight." And he kind of like perks up and looks at me, and I go, "Now say it yourself." Because I'm going to go win this fight. And I was like, "Say it with conviction." He's like, "I'm going to go win this fight." I said, "Now listen, I don't care who with the odds, none of this shit." I said, "The only people that matter are the 5 of us in this fucking room right here, right now. We all believe that you can win this fight. Nothing else matters. So let's go out and go do our job." And he looks up at me. He's like, "To the death." I was like, "Fucking to the death, kid. Let's go."
Fuck,
and that was that, And then, yeah, we had our moments in the corners and stuff. And, after the fight, he just gave me a big old hug, man. And he just said, "Bro, like you motivate the shit out of me, man. Like I feel like I can run through a brick wall with you. And I feel the same. And I'll run through a brick wall for him, man. We always say, man, to hell and back, and I'll lead the way, So sometimes you just need that. Some guys need it. Some guys don't. You have to know as a coach what they need to hear in the moment that they need to hear it. I think, spending enough time with people, understanding who and what they are, what makes them fight, helps you push the right buttons, man. And that's the thing I take the most pride in is I feel like I know my fighters. I know what buttons to push.
I appreciate the fact that you may fight Izzy again, but could I ask what was the game plan going into this fight?
Oh, it was pressure. It was pressure. It was, styles make the matchup, man. And they really do. And, I hear a lot of praise, like, oh, the game plan, the this, the that. We took what Sean was great at. And, people will tell you, I think Chris even said it on your show on Monday. It's like, Sean's such a difficult guy to figure out, especially the first couple of times you're in the cage with him, like Johnny Eblin, first couple of times Johnny sparred Sean, Johnny's like, dude, this guy's, call him a booger. He's just a booger. He's awkward, So when you hear like, people say like, oh, Izzy looked stuck in the mud. It's like, yeah, he was because Sean threw him in the fucking mud, and it's not saying that next time Izzy's not going to figure him out a little bit more, because that's kind of the way you get better with Sean is you have to spar Sean a lot and fight Sean a lot or train with Sean a lot. So those things are very important is as a coach, take what they're already good at, look at the things that you feel like they're going to exploit, right? Break yourself down. That's what we did. We reverse engineer our game plan. And how is Izzy going to beat us? Where are the holes in our game? Okay. He's going to kick us. He's going to kick our calf. He's going to pull counter us into combinations and walk us into things. So let's not overextend. Let's utilize our cage control. Let's put ourselves in situations to where we can eliminate half-beat pulls. We can eliminate, some of the calf kicks by checking or by creating better angles. Very small, very simple, but very effective as well. I mean, he's not the best striker to watch, Sean. It looks awkward, it looks crazy, but goddamn it, it's effective.
If someone would have told you that you guys would win via decision in dominant fashion without a single takedown attempt, would you have believed it?
Not the single takedown attempt part. Like I felt like we had to mix up the race a little bit, and it wasn't like, let's take this guy down and hold him down. That was not the game plan. It was to create mismatches in his rhythm, right? Izzy's a rhythm fighter. And as you notice, we had 4 or 5 different ways to disrupt the rhythm, right? What do I mean by that? Well, Izzy's feint game is beautiful, and a lot of his strikes are set up off of his feints. So if we can disrupt the conductor to the orchestra and take the conductor stick out of his hand, because he's trying to put instruments where they belong, right? But if we can disrupt his timing and his rhythm, then that's where we kind of able to kind of put the ball in our court. Now one of those disruptors is to wrestle or to grapple. But, giving a football terminology, it's like if we're running a play and we're getting 10, 11 yards every time we run the play, why not keep running the play? You have to stop it. And they didn't make any adjustments to stop the play. So, wrestling didn't have to really be a part of our focal point. Wrestling was a part of our focal point a lot of times to seal or steal rounds, like I said, at the end of round 1. But it was also an element to make Izzy work, right? Make him grapple, make him pummel, make him get up. Then get back to your strikes, but mostly to disrupt his rhythm.
Were you at all worried that Sean punched himself out in the first round? Like, were you worried? Because it seemed like, no, a second round, maybe the only reason why Izzy may have won that round is because Sean didn't do a lot. Like, he was just trying to, like, fill up the gas tank again.
He got snake charmed.
So what does that term mean? That's the term that everyone loved on Saturday. What does that mean when you say it?
I mean, just that he got mesmerized by watching Izzy. He got hypnotized by the feint game, by Israel Adesanya in front of him, and yeah, he probably was a little bit of that adrenaline dump, and I didn't even get out of my seat. When the whole thing happened, I was like, one or two things is going to happen. It's a finish, and then I can celebrate, or number 2, the round's going to be over. And I got very, very important information for him that I cannot bypass. Like, he needs to hear this after the end of round 1, because Izzy was setting him up, and I saw it. I saw the setup, and I'm like, I can't lose sight of the emotions right now, because if I don't tell him this, Izzy's going to knock him out. I was worried. So I actually looked over. I was laughing because I looked over at Megan and Anik and Laura and DC. And I was like this on the apron. I was watching them, just watching their reactions. I was giggling the whole time. I was like, if it's over, it's over. There's nothing else for me to do. I don't have to coach anything. He can't hear me anyway, right? So, but in my mind, I'm like, I need to tell him that Izzy's setting him up for a same side head kick out of southpaw.
Okay.
So when it was all said and done,
you were just saying he was setting him up. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So, I was talking to Luke yesterday. Izzy would drop step into southpaw. So his movement's beautiful, right? But he's setting traps. So he'll be orthodox. He'll drop step into southpaw. And then he kept prodding with the southpaw cross at Sean's rear hand. And Sean kept parrying it down. And I yelled at him, in the middle of the fight, I yelled at him, like, hey, he's setting you up for the same side. But you also don't know if Sean hears you in the middle of the round. But it was also something very important that I wanted him to tell him in between rounds. And I said to him, I said, hey, I know, you know how he kind of runs around. You can't really wrangle him in. I was like, I need you to listen to this right now, because this is important. Very, very important. He's setting you up. Do not parry that hand down out of southpaw. I'm telling you, he's setting you up for a same side head kick. The moment he steps southpaw, you have to engage on that lead side hand, which was that hand fight, and then try to stick your cross down the middle or disrupt his timing. I don't care what it is, but just know, do not parry that hand down, because I'm telling you, there's a kick that's coming behind it. So it was set up, and Izzy actually talked to me after, and he said, bro, you called it. You told me I saved his life.
Yeah,
so
well, can you tell me about that conversation? So, where did you see him, and what did he say?
I think he was on his way over to his press conference, but Izzy and I are cool. I have zero issues with this man. Nothing but respect for his team. So it was nice to have a moment with him, because all fight week long. You know how the tension is between teams and fights and fighters and this and that. But I don't partake in any of that stuff. That's none of my business. I'm not trying to sell a fight. I'm trying to execute the name in front of me competitively. Right. That's it. I'm just trying to get a win. So him coming over, giving me a hug. We talked about Francis for a minute. I was like, I'll see you in Saudi. And that was the first thing he actually said to me. He's like, he goes, you saved that man's life, E. And I was like, yeah, how so? He's like, you kept calling out my reads, man. He goes, I heard you every time I would set something up. I heard you yell it, and I was like, I appreciate that, man, because he's a wizard. He really is. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a ton by studying this man over the years. And, he's allowed me to adapt not only offensively, but, he's helped my mind's eye defensively as well. So, I love Izzy, man. I love his style. He's one of the best to ever do it, to be quite honest with you. So it was nice to have that moment with him.
Can I ask about your philosophy in between rounds? Like to me, that is gold. I love that stuff. I wish I could sometimes just listen to the coaches for the entire fight. And I know that you could do that on Fight Pass or something, but like live, right? And I was saying at the top, so there's two things I want to ask you about, but like at the top, I was saying I saw some people being like, "Oh, your language was a little bit this and that." It is our privilege to be able to eavesdrop on those moments. Those are intimate moments between you and the fighters. That is a lot different than, a guy on the microphone saying something that may be offensive. Whatever language you have to speak to your guy, like we cannot criticize, in my opinion. That is not our right. Like we are lucky that you are letting us listen to that, and that is gold for us. So that's my take on that, A. But B, I was wondering if you speak to everyone the same way, or do you have to recognize that like Casey O'Neill does not respond the same way I speak to Sean Strickland? And how do you play that game? And how do you balance? Sorry for the multiple questions. I hate doing that, but how do you balance the motivational talk and the technique talk as well? Because sometimes we just see one or the other. I thought on Saturday you did a fantastic job of offering both to Sean in that 60 seconds.
Yeah. So I'll start off with this. I think it's so important to be involved in team sports at a young age. And I was fortunate enough to play quarterback at a young age. And I was very fortunate to have my dad along the ride with me. So I constantly had a coach involved in my life all the time. And I remember a time at playing quarterback, I yelled at a kid and he responded by crying. He was very upset. And that was a moment where my dad said, "Hey, listen, you have 10 personalities on the field. Not everyone's going to respond by you grabbing their face mask and yelling at them. You have to understand that you have to have different tools in your toolbox, right?" And some people will respond to that. Some people respond to being coddled and just the right approach. So over time, you spend in the room with people and you understand them more and more. You start to realize what they need to hear, and it's really just about reps. It's sometimes it's my personality and I want to fire them up and I want to give them something. And sometimes I've had tale of two tapes sometimes when it comes to Danny Ige. Ige, I'll sit there and I'll talk to him and I'll give him good information. We'll joke, and then there's times where, man, I got to get in his ass. And it really just depends on what I need to get out of the fighter, and, Maslow said, if the only tool we have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail, right? We have to adapt to the personality, to the person, to the moment. What are we trying to get out of them? What are their goals? What are their inspirations? I read body language a lot, not only by our own fighter, but our opponent. What's their body language telling me? Do we look defeated? So honestly, Ariel, it's the most comfortable I've ever been in my entire life, the most confident I've ever been in my entire life, that 1 minute between the rounds. Like, I just feel home, man. Like, I've never felt more comfortable in my own skin. I don't care about what people think or say. It's a very intimate moment. I never think about, oh, we're on pay-per-view or how many people are watching or this or that. I feel like I just get tunnel vision, man. And I don't know, man. I'm just trying to be honest. It's just the most comfortable position I've ever been in my life because what I'm saying to them, I believe. I truly believe it. And I think I inflict self-belief on the people that are on that stool or running around like Sean does. But all the while, I'll command the attention and I'm going to pull the best out of everyone.
Can you compare? I know this is sort of like asking like who's your favorite child, but like Francis beating Stipe, this one, you've had some massive wins, right? How does Saturdays compare? Was that the greatest night of your career?
Very different. All of them are very different, and I'm very fortunate to be able to compare, to be honest with you. And this one was more of a win, I think, on the human element side more than the coaching side. Just because we know Sean's past, we know the type of individual Sean can be and is. But I think this was a thing. I think that we can make a better man. That we were able to show him that he's capable of doing, big things, wonderful things, championship level things, but also, hopefully opening the doors to some of the things maybe he dealt with in the past and exercising some of those demons. So it's all very different for me. Francis's win was incredible and his backstory, right? Being along on the ride with Aljo and Rafion Stotts and Lance Palmer and all these guys, man, each one of them have such a great individual story. And I'm just very fortunate to be a part of that journey, man. So it's hard to rank but this one definitely ranks up there pretty high, just as far as like the human element for me.
Is Sean being honest when he says he doesn't care about the belt?
I don't know if the way that he says it, I think he's talking about the belt more as like this inanimate object or something. Maybe, I don't know. But I think he does respect the journey, and he respects the process more than the product being the belt. I think he really loves the fight game. I think he really loves the process of the fight game. And this just so happens to be like the pinnacle of it. And the one thing I told him, same thing that I told Francis, and the thing I learned most from Randy is, your hardest fight of your career is your first title defense. So we can't get complacent. We can't ride too high on this stuff. The target's now on our back, and it's not necessarily about defending the belt. It's just about winning fights. It really is. So anyway, he wants to equate it. He is champion of the world now. He's got that belt. It's probably got duct tape wrapped all around the damn thing, but but what a cool moment for the average Joes, if you will. You're right.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people can connect with that. Who do you think his first title defense will be against?
I don't know. I mean, you can make an argument for all these guys, to be honest with you. You can make an argument for Izzy, Dricus, Jared Cannonier, the winner out of Khamzat and Costa. You really can. I just think it's a matter of timing and opportunity, and what the UFC wants to do. How fast they want to move this along. Sean got out of this fight with really zero injuries. Like he had his toenail came off or something, right? It was nothing. So he'll be back to spar on Tuesday next week. He'll be back in the gym.
I thought he was coming this Tuesday. I thought he was there yesterday. He said
he was in. He didn't spar though because his toe hurt. This guy.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, honestly, you can make an argument for any one of these guys. I think all of them are deserving of it. And at the end of the day, the UFC is going to do what they feel is best, and move the division along.
Who's your preference? If you had your say, if Sean said, "Coach, who do we fight?"
I don't really care. I mean, really, I can make the argument for all three. Like, I look at Cannonier. Here's what I loved about Jared, man. Like, this dude was a pro all week, not knowing what his fate was going to be as the alternate, right? There for every workout. Very friendly to all of us, made the weight, did everything, flew halfway across the world to do everything he's supposed to do, has a win over Sean, looked impressive in his last win against Vettori. So, I mean, you can make an argument for Jared. Izzy, one of the best to ever do it. He should probably always get a rematch, right? And then Dricus, this guy goes out and starches Robert Whitaker, a guy he was not supposed to beat, does it in an emphatic fashion. Unfortunately wasn't able to take this fight because of the injury, but moving along. I don't care who it is, man. I like all three, to be honest with you.
Okay, fair enough. Two last things, if I may. I saw this thread on Twitter, and it's like, hey, let's have a conversation about this guy, Eugene Bareman. And I was talking about this before the show, and this shit pisses me off. I mean, like, even the stuff I saw about Izzy calling into question his legacy and his resume because of this loss is absurd to me. But I did see that you chimed in there at the very top, and I, you know how much I respect you and what I think about you, and I think that says so much about you that you felt the need to do that. Why did you feel the need to chime in on that thread?
Because no one knows what it's like to walk in these shoes, man, as an MMA coach. And unless you walked in these shoes, you empathize or you understand. This man was coach of the year last year. And just because he had an off night or whatever you want to call it, now we're going to question his legacy or if this guy was ever that good. Yeah, he is that good. What he's done with that gym and the proximity that he's done it in and the amount of high level fighters that he has there. I just think it's off-putting, man, because that could have easily been me on the other side had we lost, right? And MMA fans can be fickle. They're like, NFL kickers. They only remember you for your last kick, whether it was in or you missed, right? Like, that's kind of how it is this day and age. And, man, I see the time. I know the time and effort that I put in. And I guarantee you he's doing the same damn thing. I know who suffers the most, and that's my wife and my kids. I miss soccer games. I miss flag football games. I miss dance recitals. I miss birthdays. To be here, to be in this gym, to create world champions. And to take that away from this man because, you know, he had a one-off night to say, you know, oh, this dude, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know. It's our duty as coaches to stick up for one another because, you know, we are the people that people have, but, you know, we don't have anybody really for ourselves, to be honest with you. And everybody calls us, everybody rings us, everybody, coach, we have a problem, you know, and I lean on people myself, like Tyson Chartier, Elliot Marshall, you know, John Crow. I call people, man, Dean Thomas. I call people to lean on that have walked in these shoes because no one understands what we go through. So when you want to be critical about a fighter or a coach, especially that has 6 guys fighting on the same card, right? Who's running back and forth, making sure he's delegating, getting everybody lined up, the adrenaline dump running in and out of the cage. You want to be critical about what, you know, he had an off night. It's okay, bro. Like the guy's elite. The guy's elite for a reason. We're going to have off nights, you know? So remember what we go through on a day-to-day basis before you start talking shit.
Much respect. Last thing, if I would have told you, if I was at your house on Christmas 2022, Sean Strickland just lost to Jared Cannonier. Hey, in about 9 months or so, your guy Sean's going to be the champion of the world. Would you have believed me?
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I would have, man. I don't know, man. I'm an optimist by nature. I think about every detail, every possibility. I told him right after he lost to Jared, I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, we're 1 or 2 fights away to get right back in there, you know? And maybe that's just me. I'm just, you know, hopeless romantic, I guess. Like I'm always plugging away, man. And, you know, I believe in every one of our guys. I really do. You know, I believe that we have the ability, everyone in this room, to become world champion and realize your full potential, you know? And there's days I think that, you know, when you're unsure about yourself, that's why we have each other, you know, because Sean has that lone wolf mentality, that outlier mentality. And, you know, you by nature have to be your biggest fan. And some days you're not. But when you surround yourself with people that believe in you, some days when you don't believe in yourself, I think that's what takes you over the edge, man. I think that's what has been successful for Sean is he surrounded himself with people that actually love and care about him. And, you know, anything's possible when you put yourself in those situations.
And we saw the byproduct of that on Saturday night. Congratulations, coach. Well done. So happy for you. Another massive notch in your belt. And like I said, you guys pull it off October 28th in Riyadh. Coach of the decade. All right, you might as well forget about coach of the year. Coach of the decade. All right, that's
Dewey Cooper, man.
Hey,
Dewey Cooper's.
I'll give you all the freaking awards. Giant killers over there in Las Vegas. Well done. Thank you so much. Enjoy it all.
Thank you, Ariel. Good to talk to you, brother.
As always, there he is, Coach Eric Nicksick, the head coach over at Extreme Couture. What a moment. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You could get many more of these videos on the channel, so please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.